We are very happy to say, folks, the Holiday Log will be back on Shaw TV Channel 9 starting on December 23rd, right after the Santa Parade, and running right through until December 27th. And that is our big holiday gift to you to keep you warm over the holiday week. But coming up next, I'll have a great interview with local journalist Mark Reid. He's put together a fantastic book called 100 Days That Changed Canada. And it definitely is more than just a coffee table book. Congratulations, Mark, but wow, what a challenge and what, I guess, a real tough job to condense 100 days of Canada's history into one book. How did you do it? Well,
to be honest with you, our shortlist was around 300 days, which of course is a great problem to have because it really speaks volumes about the sheer number of stories in Canadian history. So it was a challenge. We talked to historians and archivists and others, but at the end of the day, this is 100 days. There are more, and I think what we want to do with this book is really get a debate started as to what days should have made the list.
You had voices in this book that did stories to accompany the pictures, and some very prominent Canadians. How are they chosen, and what was their opinion and I guess experience?
Well, what we wanted to do with this book was to give a real visual entry into Canada's history. And so what we did was we paired celebrity writers with key moments from the past. And just to give you some of the names, incredible writers, Peter Mansbridge and Don Newman from CBC. We have Adrienne Clarkson, the former Governor General. Lawrence Hill, who wrote The Book of Negroes, is in our book. 56 in total. And so what we did was when we came up with our list, I started looking for writers with intimate connections, either to the event itself or intimate insight into the event. So you have someone like Peter Mansbridge, who has anchored CBC News for decades, writing about the moment where Brian Mulrooney and John Turner go mano a mano in that "you had an option, sir" moment in 1984 in that political debate. You have Lawrence Hill writing about Halifax deciding to take a community of black residents and to bulldoze their community and evict them all in Africville. So you get these moments and these connections between writer, photo, this synergy that you wouldn't get, I don't think, if they weren't together as a package.
We've talked about the stories, now the photographs. Sometimes they depicted maybe a lesser known moment in time, maybe not as significant, but together with the stories, it did provoke thought.
Yeah, there was a lot of photos in the book where you will literally see the moment, the turning point moment when something changed. In others, we looked for photos that spoke to the ripple effects through time. And so a great example is 2003. In 2003, Jean Chrétien decided, no way, we're not going into Iraq, we're not going to fight George Bush's war in Iraq. Well, I found a photo to symbolize that moment from 2009. It's a protest poster. George Bush is coming to Toronto for a speech, and they have him in a war criminal wanted poster saying war criminals not wanted in Toronto. And you can imagine if Chrétien had put us in Iraq, could that have been his photo in 2009, Jean Chrétien, war criminal. And so that speaks a lot about how events in the past affect the future.
Personalities now. One of my favorites is Pierre Trudeau doing the pirouette. Unbelievable.
It's one of the most iconic photos of Canadian history. You get a picture, there's Pierre Trudeau in Buckingham Palace, there's the Queen off to the side, and just to make fun of the pomp and ceremony, he's pirouetting like a ballerina might do. It spoke volumes, I think, into the insight of Trudeau and the idea that we're not a vassal of British Empire anymore. We're our own country. But the thing about this book, I think, that's great as you see the symmetry. So on one page we have Trudeau pirouetting. On another page we have a Alberta protester wearing a Trudeau mask and wearing an oil barrel. And he's protesting Trudeau because he's angry that Trudeau is trying to take Alberta's oil money and give it to all the Easterners. And so you see that people can affect Canada in multitudes of ways.
Mark, compiling this book, there must have been so many challenges.
Well, when you have 56 writers, there's a lot of shepherding going on. I wrote some of it myself. My talented staff at Canada's History wrote some of the essays. But I think the biggest challenge for us is to try to convince Canadians that this notion that somehow Canada's history is dull, it's dry, it's boring, it somehow doesn't measure up, just isn't true. When you look at these photos, I challenge anyone to look at that photo of Terry Fox when he's on a gurney and he's telling the world that his cancer has come back. And his mom and his dad are there crying with their arms on his shoulder. And when you look at that photo and you think to yourself, you know what he's thinking at that moment? He believes he's letting us down. somehow he's failed us. And when you look at a hero like that, or Donovan Bailey winning gold, or a photo from the Summit Series, or even a cultural achievement, like Mr. Dress Up taking to the airwaves for the first time, I challenge anyone not to feel something. Maybe it'll be shame, maybe it'll be pride, depending on what the moment is. But our goal is to make Canadians care about their own history. And hopefully that way we'll pass it on to future generations.
Which is more important, the photos or the words?
Well, my wife is a photographer, and she'd tell you right away that the photos are most important. But myself personally, I think you can have one without the other, but somehow you're missing something. It's when you put the two together. It's important for your listeners and your watchers to know, this isn't a dry, dull, boring history book that you've read in school. This is a visual journey through the lives of people just like you and me, who lived and loved and sacrificed, and they lost maybe a loved one in war. The Montreal Massacre is in there. There's moments of pride. And I think when you see the photos and you read the articles by these famous Canadians, I think together it gives us a blueprint, not only to know where we've come from, but just maybe where we're going in the future.
Wow. A genius. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You've made me laugh and cry and learn more about Canada by flipping through this book and reading and being touched by so many stories.
Well,
a true
you.
gift.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.